Right, this next job I've got to do is a Nest which has gone down. So customers in the process of contacting Nest to try and get replacements sorted. Luckily it's not cold at the moment, so I haven't got to worry about heating, but what I am going to do is I'm going to link out the hot water side in here so that it's still controlled by the cylinder stat. So first job of today, I've got a suspected CO activation. So customer called me, tightness test is just finished. So customer called me, tightness test is all good, sticking at 20 millibar. The CO alarm went off at about 4 a.m. Cadent had been out and they basically just capped the meter. They said it was a boiler, but I asked them, did they do any checks on the boiler? They said no, they're not allowed to. They've just got to get gas safe engineer out. So the boiler, well, I'll show you. Boiler's fresh, 2016 Vaillant. Let's have a look. Let's just put the U gauge down here. So yeah, 2016 Vaillant. It is fresh inside. I've got absolutely no concerns whatsoever with this boiler, and it's electric hob, so there aren't any other gas appliances in the property either. So yeah, might have been a faulty alarm, could have been low batteries, could be anything, but I'm going to do my 269 checks. Also, that's where the CO alarm is, it's up there. All the room seal aspects of the boiler are fine, there's no compromise in there. So I've just uncapped the meter, tested the gas is sweet, no gas leak. So I'm going to get the analyzer on, do my 269 checks. If it's all good, then we'll leave it all on and running. Right, just finished doing my analyzer checks. Gas rate is spot on, analyzer readings are spot on, done a sweep test. Let's peel that off because this boiler is working absolutely fine. So I'm going to leave it on and running, issue them a gas cert just to say everything's safe, get paid, and then move on to the next one. Okay, so next one, I've got a Vaillant 637. Oh, no heating hot water. That's why. Knock knock. Don't think anyone's home. It's going to be a faulty PCB by the looks of it. So let's check that we've got power going into it, and if we do and there's nothing happening here, it's going to be a faulty board. Right, have a bit of progress. So it's not the PCB. The way they wired it in is when you turn it on from the programmer, that's when the boiler comes on. So it's not been wired correctly because this should have a permanent live, but it looks like the live only comes on when there's power, when there's a demand from the programmer. So now we've got power back on here. We've got F20. So F20 is basically overheating. So still going to try and get the case off and see if it's the pump, because if it's not circulating, which it is, I can hear it. I don't know if you guys can hear that. So that's the pump circulating. So the pump is working. Let's just see what it does. Does it fire up? Okay. So boiler's fired up. Let's give it a few minutes and see what it does. So I've just gone into the fault history on here, and the last 10 fault codes have all been F20. So safety switch off, temperature limiter, which is basically an overheating issue. So the boiler is now ramped up to maximum rate. Let's see what the temperature does. So it's actually doing okay at the moment. It's holding steady at 52. Normally if that was overheating, that would be shooting up, but it's not. So we'll let it run for a few more minutes. Got main man Adil here. Adil, say hi to YouTube. So he's got me on this job just to have a look at it, but we're going to see what's going on. If the boiler overheats, if it locks out, we'll check the zone valves, check that we've got heating circulating everywhere. If it is, then we'll just have to try and find out what could be causing the F20 fault. Okay, so we're just in the basement. So basement nest is calling for heat, 30 degrees. I've checked the zone valve for the basement, that's on. Let's just check. That's starting to, yeah, I can feel heat in there. There's heat coming in from the TRV, so we know that's on the flow, so that's fine. So heat's starting to come through there. This one, yep, heat's starting to come in through the flow there. Let's check this one. Yep, heat's starting to come in through there. Can't keep my hand on it, so that's fine. So looks like we've got circulation, we've got heat going down here. I'm gonna check the other rooms as well and make sure that we've got heat going everywhere else as well. Right, so bit of progress. We've found 2 horizontal unvented cylinders up in the loft. So that explains why there's a twin channel programmer downstairs and 2 nests, because normally if you've got the nest, you wouldn't need an additional programmer because the nest can do your heating and hot water. But it looks like in this situation, they're using the 2 nests just standalone for heating control, and the twin channel programmer, they're using it each channel. So one hot water side is going to be doing a cylinder and the heating side will be doing the other cylinder. So I just need to see. So we've got a cylinder stat here. Can't see the other cylinder stat. Yeah, okay, it's tucked away back there. So I just need to check if we've got, so we've got another 2 zone valves there. So they should be calling for heat. Let's see. That one's shut. That one's shut as well. So that means either this. Okay, so that's clicked on. So that should be, there we go, yeah, that's opening that. That one's still shut. So that's fine, so it's doing what it's supposed to do. Let me see if I can reach around to this one here. I think that clicked on. Let's check. No. The trouble is I don't really want to mess with that one because I can't see where it's been set to, and I don't want to change the setting on it. But if it's set up the same way as that, then we know it's working. Let me see, actually. I want to make sure. Right, that's off. That's clicked on. Or maybe it's the opposite way. Let's try that way. Let's see if that. Ah, okay, cool. There we go. Yeah. So that's on. Now, if I. Yeah, that's on. So they're both doing what they're supposed to do. So regarding the F20, the only thing I can think of, and you guys let me know in the comments below if you think any different, I reckon it could be happening. I know it's normally an overheating or circulation issue, but it could be because the boiler's not been wired up correctly. It's wired in to come on only when there's a demand. So it's not allowing the pump over on. So it may be a situation where the boiler's not able to get rid of the latent heat or anything like that. And that's why it could be locking out an F20, because other than that, right now the boiler's holding temperature. It's not overheating, it's sitting pretty. We're going to check the temperature again downstairs in a minute, but other than that, I can't see any other reason why it'd be coming up with an F20 fault code. Right, so down by the boiler, it's still running. It's sitting at 71 degrees at the moment. It's not ramping up too quickly or anything like that. And it's still on max rate as well. So that shows that there's no blockage or circulation issue. I can only think that it's going to be to do with the wiring. Just had a look at all the pipe work here. So obviously we've got your flow going there. So that's going to be the flow, I'm assuming, going to the cylinders upstairs, because then it goes down here. And then underneath here, you've got zone valve for the underfloor heating circuit. You've got ground floor and upstairs, and you've got basement. And there is a bypass here, because I thought maybe there might not be a bypass fitted, but there is a bypass there as well. So it's all been installed as it should be, other than the wiring side of it. So yeah, other than that, I can't really see any problems with it. So leave it on, leave it running, and if the problem keeps happening, then I'll just have to book it in for adjust the wiring and wire it correctly and see if that resolves the issue. Yeah, that one's done. Adil, you happy? Cool, man. Let's get out of here. And another issue we've got here is this outside tap. Open at full whack. All you're getting is a dribble, so that's most likely going to be the non-return valve in there that's jammed up. So I haven't got one on me, but Adil lives on this road, so he's just popped home to see if he's got one at home. If he has, turn the water off, whip this out, change it over, and yeah, should be a quick one. Right, so the next job I've got to look at is another ECA electric combi boiler. Now, there was an old hot water cylinder here, so the purpose for it was just to do hot water. Don't know why they fitted a combi. They could have just put in a water heater, but the issue that the customer's having at the moment is they're getting hot water at the basin taps and the kitchen taps, but not getting into the bath. That's giving you trouble, isn't it? When you're running a bath.
It just runs for a few minutes, we get 2 or 3 inches
and then it stops. Okay. So these electric,
it goes cold.
It goes cold, okay. So these electric combis, they're only capable of delivering about, well, I think this is, what's we got here? It's a 12 kilowatt. So this is only capable of delivering 7 litres a minute. So we're going to go and have a look at the bath, see what kind of flow rate it's giving, and then see what the boiler's doing. Okay, so now I'm at the actual property where that boiler serves, and out the basin tap, got about 56 degrees coming out of there. So I don't really need to put a flow cup on there to say that that's not going to be that high. Let's check what's going on with the bath tap now. If I open that. Okay, so that flow rate isn't actually that great. Let's see. So that's sitting at 49 degrees at the moment. Let's just see what happens. I'll give it a few minutes. Okay, so that's been running for a few minutes now, and the temperature has dropped down to about 37, 38 degrees. Okay, let's check the flow rate. So the flow rate here is 8 litres a minute, so that should be still giving us the correct amount of hot water. But that is only lukewarm. Okay, I'm going to check, see if I can get this bath panel off, and if there's an isolation for the hot, turn that off and see if the cold is passing, and that's why we're not getting the hot water there. Let me see if I can try that. If not, then the other thing I could think of is that, well, I'm going to get the bath, try and get the bath panel off and have a look, because if it's piped, I saw it was upsized to 22 from the boiler, serving this flat. Obviously the taps over here, the basin taps, are reduced down to 15, but if that's 22 all the way, the flow rate might still be too fast going to the taps. I'm just talking out loud here, thinking out loud here, try and see what it could be. But I'm going to see if there's an isolation valve for the hot at the moment, and see if I can turn that off and see if we still get water coming through. That will then prove that that mixer tap is passing. Or on the flip side, if I can find the cold shut that off and see if that hot water gets hotter. Let's try a few things out. Right, I found the stopcock there for the cold mains to the flat, so turn that off. So now if I turn hot water off, put the cold on, right, that's fine. So there's nothing coming out the cold. Keep the hot on. But it's not really making much difference to the temperature. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go back to the boiler, and we're going to try and restrict this lever valve onto the 22mm valve. We'll try and shut that down halfway and see if that improves the temperature here. If it does, then it's going to be a flow rate issue, but let's see what we can do. Oh, it's ridiculous. The boiler and they're flat, 2 separate buildings. So the boiler's here, but their flat is there, next building along. Okay, so look, boiler temperature has dropped down to 37 degrees, which is what it's delivering to the bath taps. Now, this is the lever valve for the hot. So if I was to restrict that down, let's say to that, let's see if the temperature goes up on here. That is the hot, isn't it? Yeah, that is the hot. And the temperature on there is 65, so that's set to max. .38. Restrict a bit more. I'm going to give that a few minutes and see if we get a temperature rise on there. Okay, so I've had to restrict that lever valve pretty much almost off in order for this boiler to maintain around 50 degrees output coming out there. Oh, someone's calling me, 1 second. I've just called the customer who's in the flat next door, and he's saying that the hot water is now holding temperature. It's hot enough for them to fill a bath. I'm just going to go there and check what the flow rate's like coming out the taps now, if it's enough. Otherwise, we're just going to have to see what we can do regarding this whole installation, because I just think that the installation is incorrect in terms of what the customer's needs are, what the requirements are. They've not fitted the right appliance for it, because like I said, this can only deliver 7 litres a minute. And if you've got 22mm pipework coming off of there, going all the way to next door, then it's probably not serving its purpose. They would have been better off with probably, well, I don't know, either an unvented cylinder, or if they didn't have the flow rate for an unvented cylinder, could have put in a direct thermal store. Those would have been much more better options than an electric combi, especially if they literally only need it for hot water. But I'm going to pop back next door and have a look, see how it is now. Okay, so that one, there wasn't much more that I could do other than restricting the flow going out the boiler. I've advised them that the only real option is to, well, change the boiler, because it's not sufficient, it's not fit for purpose for what they need. They need a water heater, or they need a thermal store or an unvented cylinder, but that electric combi is not doing anything for them. They're getting hot water now out of the bath taps, and it's holding temperature, and it's a case of if they open the basin tap, they're getting a trickle out of it, but as soon as they turn the bath tap off, then they're getting water coming out of the basin tap. So I know it's not ideal, but it's a workaround. They're an elderly couple. It's something to get them out of trouble, whilst they can obviously still utilize hot water without having to spend, you know, a lot more money on trying to get things replaced. Right, that's done. Next one is a Worcester. I need to get the Sharpish. Right, next job we've got here. I'll put the light on in a minute, but you can probably see the flashing lights better with the lights off. So we've got a blue light. It's a slow flash, mostly off, with the reset light flashing. And checking on here, that's ignition lockout. So let's see what's going on with the ignition. I'm going to reset it and see if we've got issues with the condense or possibly the electrodes. So I don't think it's overheating, otherwise we'd have an overheat lockout fault. Yeah, there we go. Listen to that. Listen to that. That is a block condense all day long. You can hear the bubbling in there. Right, let's get the case off, find out what's going on with that condense. Probably have to go down and get my wet vac, clear out the condense, and that should be back up and running. Okay, so I've got the case off. Condense is literally running straight there, and then out to there. That's in 1.25 inches, and that's just going straight into there. So that's not all blocked up. I am gonna hazard a guess that the trap is all blocked up, and that's why it's not able to actually siphon itself out. Let's get that open. Yeah, bingo. Right, let's put the screwdriver there. Again, this light is fast becoming my favorite light, but there you go. Condense trap is all blocked up there. So what it's meant to try and do is this. Why I like this light. So it's meant to go down through there, up into there, and then fill up the siphon here. And then once it gets to a certain level, it will siphon itself out. Obviously, the water can't get anywhere, so it's all just built up in there, blocked up in here. So I'm going to either one or two things, either loosen these two screws here, get my wet vac here and suck out the water from here first, and then undo this, or I might just put my folding bucket underneath it and drop the contents of this straight into the bucket. Let's try it this way first. See where I can maybe. Oh, case screws. I don't want to drop those. Let's put that. Then I'll find the other one in a minute. Is there anywhere I can hook at least one side onto it? Yeah. Hook one side onto the filling loop there, and the other side. I'll just hold it there. Watch this. Yeah, that's clear now. It's a lot clearer. That's what was all in the bottom. Now that's all nice and clear. So I'm going to give this a clean, pop it back in, then we'll run the boiler again, and hopefully that should be the end of it. See that green light? That means the boiler's on. It's running. It's not bubbling no more. And the reason why it was bubbling in the first place was, look at that, got massive chunks in there. That's what was blocking up the trap. That's all cleaned out now. The boiler's running nice and smooth again. So yeah, condense trap's cleaned out. Now customer's gonna let me know about booking in a service. We're gonna try and do a full service on this Worcester probably next month or so. It's running fine at the moment. That's the main thing. Need to get them up and running today, and then we'll book it in for a full service in the next coming months or so. That's one done. I've got one more to do, but I also need to go pick up Arian this time from Harrow from my in-laws, so I'm not sure which way I'm going to do this. Let's see what time I get back to the van and work out the logistics. But yeah, this one's done. Okay, block condense is no longer blocked. I've just checked my journey time. It's half an hour to the next job. I'm going to go and do that, and then I've got to go pick up Arian from Harrow. It's going to be cutting it pretty tight, but enough chit chat. Let me get on the road. Right, this next job I've got to do is a Nest which has gone down. So customers in the process of contacting Nest to try and get replacements sorted. Luckily, it's not cold at the moment, so I haven't got to worry about heating. But what I am going to do is I'm going to link out the hot water side in here so that it's still controlled by the cylinder stat, which is somewhere down there. So at least they'll get hot water in the meantime. And it'll be controlled by the cylinder stat, and it will be as if it's on constant. Heating wise, they don't need it at the moment. Okay, so rather than linking out in there because the terminals are really tight, I've just done it in the wiring center. So I actually installed this Nest. So the grey from there, which is in number 6, trace that back to here. That goes into that terminal there, which is the brown for the hot water 2 port. And I've literally just put a long bit of link wire between permanent live and that. So now switch it on. We should. Yeah, look, that's opening now. That should click, and we should get. There we go. We've got demand. Just waiting for the boiler to kick in. Pump's running. There we go. We got flame. So hot water's running. That will start to get warm. That will flow around through there, go to the cylinder, and at least they'll have hot water for the time being until Nest can send out a replacement unit. So that's that done. Now I'm going to be sitting in a lot of traffic getting to Harrow. Okay, so I made it to Harrow, picked up Aryan. His seat is tilted back and he's ready to have a sleep on the long drive home.
No sleep.
No sleep.
No.
Apparently he doesn't want to sleep. We'll see how long that lasts. Say goodbye, Aryan.
Goodbye.
Say subscribe to the channel
Subscribe to the channel
and like the video.
and like the video.
Yeah, you heard him. Make sure you listen to him. All right, see you guys soon.